And so if you think about it, if you study history, art history, just a little bit, just enough, you'll probably find out that anatomy has always played a specific role. There was always a purpose to the anatomy. And if we look at some of the examples from history, starting from Mesopotamia to ancient Egypt, then to Renaissance, and then to modern times, you will notice the difference, obviously, but the difference here is not in the mastery, right? It's not like the Sumers or Mesopotamians didn't have the tools or didn't have the eye or the knowledge of anatomy to not to be able to produce something like this. I mean, obviously, this is Michelangelo, and nobody can produce what he did. But my point is that for them, this was more than enough, right? This was how they saw the world, right? This is this is their way of representing a human figure. This is the way representing a philosophy, right? The same goes for ancient Egyptians and so on. And so if we think about anatomy in such a way, we should probably put ourselves in the context, right? In the context of today, where we are, and what is driving the, well, I shouldn't say driving the knowledge of anatomy, but I mean, what role does anatomy play today in the industry? I'm not talking about sculpture work. I'm talking about purely in the work within the industry of entertainment, the industry of video games, film, video games and film. And my argument is that it plays a very specific role, just like it did on those examples that we see here in front of us, right? And if you understand it from this point of view, things are just becoming a little bit more simpler, right? They becoming a little bit more clearer, and I would say it also makes the job a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more focused. And so I would suggest, instead of studying anatomy, instead of studying the anatomical books and spending your time and money on the books, on the classes, on workshops and things of that nature, if you are a 3D character artist, if you are a 3D creature artist for that matter, if you're not planning to be a sculptor, if you're planning to make characters, especially in video games, right? I mean, in video games, it's I'm hesitating to say this, but it's not like it's cheating, right? It's not that what we do inside of video games is somehow less interesting, perhaps. What I'm trying to say is that in video games, you make a static model, then you bake all the details onto the low poly, right? And then you can animate it, and then you can do whatever you want with it, and it's not going to change the details, right? If you put this kind of detail on the shoulder and then you bake it in, and then whatever it is that you're doing with the shoulder, lifting the arms, putting the arms behind, it's going to be the same, right? So in that sense, in video games, it's a little bit more kind of safe, right? You can easily learn to produce a beautiful surface and then bake that in, and then play with the model, do whatever you want, create an animation, create a video game, right? In film, it's a little bit more complicated, even though definitely it's still, I would say, the form and the kind of the studying of the surface, not the anatomy itself. I would say it's a bigger, plays a bigger role, unless you are dealing with some crazy technical stuff where muscles are being simulated, and at this point it's becoming more like a technical work rather than artistic, right? And so that's a whole different subject altogether, and as a whole different profession altogether, I would say, right? And so if thinking about it this way, if thinking about it that the job in front of us, the time that needs to be put into the subject is becoming a little bit kind of smaller, right? The subject matter is becoming smaller. And at the same time, if you understand that there are specific rules and certain things within the industry that really work, and they always have worked. Just to go back to the first slide that we saw, where all the models are looking more or less the same, right? And I don't have chronologically examples of chronologically, right? So from maybe, I don't know, 10 years back all the way here, although this is more than 10 years back, and it was more or less the same, right? So it has always worked. This kind of aesthetics has always worked. And so if it's still working, there is absolutely no need for you to do anything beyond that. And I would say, if you stay focused on this, right? Stay focused on learning the surface, really, how to make it pleasing and beautiful, and at the same time interesting, and at the same time your own, but not too much your own. Otherwise you're just not fitting in the industry standards, and that's another subject altogether. But if you get it, you will be able to focus and get your foot right into the industry. And if you're already there, I mean, it's just a matter of getting better, right? It's just a matter of working, and then if you want, you can study anatomy. But to me, in my mind, if you are not in the industry, if you're trying to get in, it's always better to get in and then iron out whatever wrinkles that you might want to iron out, right? It's always better to get in and then figure things out as you go, instead of trying to learn as much as you can, just get to the point where you think it's going to be enough and then start applying. I would say no, try to get as quickly as you can, and then things are going to be much easier going from there. And I also wanted to demonstrate something, the kind of the staying focused aspect that I've just mentioned. So if we look at this portfolio, this is Frank Zhang, and maybe you know him, maybe not, but he's one of the better known digital artists out there. He's a principal artist at Naughty Dog, so one of the best companies out there. Right, and it's interesting that I do have his model opened up, and this is from, at least it's posted in 2013, and I have my Gladiator, and I think it's much earlier. I think it's like 2010-ish, maybe. So we were making the same kind of stuff almost at the same time, right? So this is mine, this is his, right? And he called this anatomy. I didn't call this anatomy. To me, it was just a subject of a gladiator. I wanted to make the gladiator. For him, it was making the studying the anatomy. And I don't study anatomy. Here, it wasn't the point of studying anatomy. I don't believe in studying anatomy in this kind of way, where you create sketches or you create half-finished models. This is maybe not half-finished. I mean, it was one of his earliest models, right? So it's perhaps not fair for me to say that it's not finished, but it looks as if things could be not improved, but could have been more defined, right? I don't believe in this kind of approach. I don't believe in sketching when it comes to sculpting, when it comes to digital work. I believe in sketching when it comes to 2D. I believe in painting or drawing really quickly and then kind of moving on. If you want to study anatomy, if you want to study the surface, my take on this is not to work just on the arm, right? It's not working just on the chest. It's not working just on the legs. I think it's a waste of time, because in some sense, when you make sketches, the only benefit that I see here is it's kind of mental clarity, because you can always tick off the sketch, right? If you're gonna say to yourself, I'm going to be working on a sketch of an arm, right? You can spend, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you can tick it off. But it doesn't mean that the value from that is going to be enough for you to start making something really good. The my approach and the way I kind of think about it is that always start something that you are interested in, right? Start a full character, start a full creature, and as you go, you will be sketching, because everything that you see here, for example, in my on my model, and it's there is the whole recording as I've shown previously, right? It's from start to finish. The whole thing here is that if you enjoy this content or find it useful, please consider supporting me by buying me a cup of coffee via the link in the description. Because I am improving and improving and improving the model, it is almost like sketching, because every element, every limb goes through a transition. So in some sense, before I get to the final look of, let's say, the arm, right, the arms, I would make maybe 5 different variations, because they're just not good enough, right? And so in some sense this is sketching, but it's just without the ability to tick things off, right? It's kind of you just constantly working on this, instead of doing 5 sessions for 30 minutes working on arms, right? I hope it makes sense. So in my experience, I just don't believe doing some kind of sketches to improve something. I believe in starting something that you really want to make, get very interested about it, get passionate about it, and then just go crazy and try to make the thing that you're making as good as you can, because in my mind this will be a much more satisfying thing in the first place, and in the second you're going to have a portfolio piece, so you don't need to be separating things, right? You just kind of, well, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone in some sense. But anyway, back to Frank Zhang. I just wanted to show this. It's almost like compare which one is better. I like mine better. So anyway, so his experience. I remember him giving an interview somewhere, and remember how he said something about him getting into the industry. Well, not in the industry, but getting into Naughty Dog. He said that he made this model, and I apologize if I've mistaken something. I don't want to put words in his mouth that he didn't say, but I'm pretty sure this is exactly what happened. He said that because Breaking Bad was so popular, that he purposely on purpose made this model so it's going to be noticeable, right? Because when something like, for example, Avatar comes around and people start making Avatar models, they're going to be prevalent because Avatar is on everybody's radar, right? And so in this case, Breaking Bad was the phenomena that everybody was talking about. You know, it's this TV series that is just so good. It's better than Sopranos. It's better than everything that happened previously, right? And so everybody knew about Breaking Bad, and it was a very clever move on Frank's side to make something that is already very popular and make it really good, right? So immediately, potentially, you will get noticed not by your colleagues, by the artists, but also by the employees, right? Employers, excuse me. So by people working in the studios, and that's exactly what happened, right? He got noticed for this image, even though it won some front pages. I think it was ZBrush Central and maybe some other places. I do remember this image being on some websites. I mean, it's from 2013 as well. Yes, it's more than 10 years ago, but I do remember this time. So it was very clever move, right? You can say whatever you want, whether it was kind of, well, I don't want to say moral because it's just not the right word for that. But I mean, you know, it's either you kind of being purist and you're going to struggle, right? You're going to create something and maybe it's not going to be noticed and you're going to get bitter, and but at the same time you feel kind of justified because you made something, you put so much time into that, right? But for whatever reason it didn't, nothing really clicked and you didn't get, your work didn't get noticed. Or you can do something like this, right? It's to stay super focused, do what exactly was working at that time, right? And by doing that, get what you really wanted to get. And Frank Zhang really wanted to be at Naughty Dog, and that's exactly what happened, right? So again, by understanding what it is, it is that you want to achieve, by understanding what really actually works, and this works because at Naughty Dog, portraiture was the biggest thing at the time. I remember doing the test for Naughty Dog, I think 3 times. I don't remember. The one time was quite a funny story, but I'm not gonna mention because it's well, let's put it this way. I was working in Valencia as a freelancer and as well in a studio, so I was spending most of the day working. So first from the morning until 5 in a studio, and then until midnight working on some freelance work for Platic Image, and at the same time doing tests for Naughty Dog. And I remember sending them my results, and the test was, at the time, so it's more than 10 years ago, it was a bust, right? It was a bust of a character. So exactly what you see here, not of Walter White, but of a character that would match the universe of Uncharted, right? And so I did that. I did the test and I sent everything off, and I remember kind of, thinking, well, what happened? It has like a month has passed and nothing really happened. And so I started to look into my Gmail account, and I noticed that they Naughty Dog really liked my work, but they asked me to send them the files, and I remember apologizing and asking whether I could still send the files, and they said, well, sorry, no, it's a bit too late now. they got somebody else. So it was a kind of funny story. But anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning this story is that the art test for Naughty Dog was basically this, right? It was a bust, and maybe Frank knew about it, and that's why he also made this. So it's, being kind of aware of what is really required, what really works, because it is, like I keep saying, because it is an industry, because there are rules here, and if you can be aware of the rules, and if you can play those rules, if you're willing to play those rules, if you're willing to be really good at this, right, to exceed within this industry, within this those boundaries, you will get in. And if you're already in, you will be able to, be even better, be more recognizable, be, I don't know, whatever it is that you want. But the point here is to be mindful enough to understand where exactly you are, what is the context around you, right? And also be very clear to yourself and honest to yourself about what is it that you want to do. Do you want to create expressions? Do you want to be a sculptor? Do you want to do this kind of work, or do you want to be part of the let's say film production? Do you want to be part of a product that is going to impact a lot of people? So be it a film, be it a video game, right? It's up to you. But you need to be really honest about it, because it will define not just your path, but also how you spend your time, where you spend your time, and where you spend your energy and your resources, right? So if you want to be a sculptor, there is absolutely no point in trying to be inside of the industry, right? Unless you just want to make some money, but your passion is being in sculpture. And if that's the case, well, of course you need to understand anatomy. Of course you need to be more aware about it, right? Because you are doing dynamic work. You're starting from you're starting your model already in a position, already posed in some sense, right? And so for that, you definitely need to understand what's happening inside the body and how it's all functioning. But if you want to be a part of a group of people who produce a product that is going to be impactful, I would again argue that there is no point in thinking that you are a digital sculptor, thinking that you require anatomy, knowledge of anatomy in depth. I absolutely, there is no reason for that. Instead, you just need to stay focused, right? And instead, learn to model, learn to how to make hair, learn to make texture, be more technically knowledgeable, understand what kind of tools are starting to emerge, what kind of impact they might have. So we've discussed AI, for example, and so what kind of effect that might have on you when you're working as a digital artist, and if everything that is required from you is a very, very good, beautiful model that is technically sound, that can be animated, but because it is static, meaning that there's going to definitely be some kind of application, definitely is going to be some kind of a tool that will allow to use to create that, right? And then using sliders or whatever, maybe text, whatever it is, you will be able to modify everything. So in that case, what is going to be required from you moving on, right? So thinking about those kind of things will make you stay focused, and you will be able to spend your resources properly. And so I hope this was interesting. I hope this was maybe useful. I think everything that I've said is not just me kind of thinking out loud, right? It's all based on my own personal experience. It's all based on my path, and I do have, I would say, a fairly successful path inside of the industry, something that I'm proud of, something that I can share and mention, and it's not just me kind of beating my own drum. I do have a solid foundation on which I stand, and from which I can speak. And so in my experience, I think this is how it is, right? This is how I see things. And so hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it was also interesting, and thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and maybe we'll see each other again next time.